Hey guys, welcome back to another video on my channel. Election day is coming up tomorrow, and today I will be releasing my final 2024 prediction between former President Donald Trump and current Vice President Kamala Harris. This video is going to be my final prediction map and the final video before the election day. And if you want to check out some of my other predictions, you can check out my final Senate prediction, which I released already, and you can check out my final House prediction. Many of my analysis and reasons why I am placing some of these states in these certain columns. You can also check out the video that's going to pop up right on the top of your screen right now, where I analyze the early voting data in many of the states. Early voting is very crucial to how I'm going to make predictions in some of these states, as well as the polls, which I will definitely use in this video. But let's get started now on my final prediction. Please subscribe if you're new to this channel, like all my videos, put all your comments and suggestions in the section below, and check out my other content once you're done with this one. So let's take a look at the national popular vote right now. Trump has an ever so slight lead of 0.1% according to quite a few polls that are surveyed. He has been leading now for the past week after he took the lead from Harris when she had led by a height of around 2 points. Right now, he does lead by 0.1%. That is a huge difference from 2020, where Biden led by 7.2%. And on the battleground states, right now, he leads on average by 1 point. He is up in every single swing state except Wisconsin, where he's down by 0.3, and Michigan, where he's down 0.6%. Let's get started on this map with our safe states. Before I get into the color coding, I want to let you guys know what each of them mean. The darkest shade, which is this shade right here, is 12 points or over. The second darkest shade, which is this shade right here, would be 6 to 12 points. That would be considered likely. This would be considered lean. This is 2 to 6 points. And then this lightest one would be tilt, which is 0 to 2 points. Let's get started now on Harris's safe states. 12 points or over. Washington, Oregon, and California will be in the safe column. Hawaii will be in the safe column as well. Illinois, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, DC, Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, Connecticut, Vermont, New York, and Maine's 1st District. All these states will be going to Harris by 12 points or more. Keep in mind, Oregon will be closer to that likely column. Same thing with Illinois. Same thing with New Jersey. And I do expect New York to fall pretty considerably from that 23-point win in the 2020 election. That'll definitely fall below 20 points this time around. Now for Trump's safe states: Alaska, Utah, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, North and South Dakota, Nebraska, its 1st and 3rd districts, Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, West Virginia, South Carolina, and we'll be adding a couple more states. Iowa and Ohio will be going barely in that safe column. We did get a poll out of Iowa that did show that Harris is actually up, but that is practically impossible, especially since Donald Trump is leading in most other polls and that he's actually up nationally. The polls in Iowa do suggest that he is going to win by similar margins to the 2020 election by around 8 points. I do see him overperforming that. He will win the state by 10 to 12. So I'm putting it on that 12-point margin. And the final state that is going to be in that safe column, this is a big one, and this is one that took a lot of thought, and it is going to be the state of Florida. And I'm moving Florida into the safe column. Republicans already lead 12 points in the early voting, and I will be putting this state in the safe column. Trump will win the state by 12 points. Now, if Trump ends up winning it by 11 points, that would be considered likely, but my final prediction is going to be 12 points. Anywhere between 10 to 15 points is the pretty large range that he could win Florida. And so she's at 181 and he's at 178. Now let's get into our likely states. First, with Harris, the state of Colorado is a state that Biden won by 13.5%. I expect him this time around to win it by 10 to 12 points. The state of New Mexico is the next state on this map, also a state that he won by 11 points, and a state that I do expect to fall. Maybe even it'll be cut in half, but right now I'm giving it to Harris by 6 points. There just isn't enough evidence for me to put it in that lean column. Another district that will be going in the likely column is going to be Nebraska second. This is going to be moving from lean D to likely D. We have seen a lot of data and early voting and polls out of Nebraska second that this is going to show her winning it by over 6 points. Going out of Trump's likely states, first is going to be the state of Texas. And in the state of Texas, he won by 5.6%, which is a lot down from his 9-point win in 2016. However, Democrats were projected to gain a lot in the state and actually were projected to only lose the state by around a point according to polls. Now they project Donald Trump's going to win the state by 7 points according to the polls. He is going to win in line to that. Right now, I have him winning Texas by 8 to 10 points. Similar with the second district of Maine. This is a district that he won by 7 points in 2020 and that he won 10 points in 2016. My current projection and my final projection has him winning Maine second by 10 points as well. And that'll going to be all the states that he's going to win in the likely column. So we're going to have him at 219 electoral votes. Harris is going to be at 197. And now the rest of the states that are left are going to be the most competitive states. And these states will all fall under 6 points. And let's get started on Harris's lean states. The first one is going to be the state of Minnesota. And this is a state that Biden won by 7 points in the 2020 election, and a state that Clinton won by only 1.5%. This time around, I do think that she will fall right in the middle of that. And actually, I think the polls are going to be pretty accurate. I think she is going to win the state between 4 and 6 points, which would put it in that lean column. I expect Walz to help her a little bit since he is the governor, so it won't fall too much. It won't fall too close. Some people think that the state might flip. I just don't see that happening. I think the state's going to be 4 to 6 points for the vice president. Virginia is going to be the next state that is going to be in that lean column. If we check the polls in Virginia right now, she does lead by 5.8%. I do have her leading by 5 points in my final projection. I do think she will win the state by 5 points. 3 to 5 points if you want to be nicer to Trump. But I do think that the realistic possibility, despite some of these polls that might show her only winning by 2, I do think she's going to end up winning the state by around 4 to 6 points, right in the middle being 5 points. The next state is going to be the state of New Hampshire, and this state is going to be closer than many people think, but not in that tilt column. The polls have tightened a lot, and now she only leads by 3.5%. I do think she's going to win the state of New Hampshire by around 3 to 4 points, which would be in that lean column. Similar with Maine, I do think she's going to win Maine by around 4 points. There is not much polling in Maine. The polling that we do have does favor her a lot, and they will definitely overestimate her support in the state of Maine. I do have her winning Maine at large by 4 to 5 points. And now that we finished all the lean states for her, she has shot up all the way to 226 ahead of the former president, but he will actually catch up as well with his lean states. And the states that he will win between 2 and 6% include first, the state of North Carolina. And North Carolina is one of the 7 battleground states. And this is the battleground state that he held in 2020. He won by 1.3%, which is around 2 points less than his 2016 win. Right now, the polls do have him at 1.5%. There are 2 polls that have Harris up, but the general consensus is that he will probably win the state by around 1 to 2 points. I do have him winning by around 3 points, which would overestimate the polls by around 1.5 points. Next is the state of Georgia, and in Georgia, I also think he's going to win. This is a state that Biden won by 0.2% after Trump had won it by 5 in the 2020 election. It is also a state that she has not really led a single poll in except this one New York Times poll. Trump is actually up by 2.3%. Keep in mind, Georgia is the state with the most accurate polls. Checking back in the 2020 and 2016 election, they were dead on. They were dead on in 2016. Trump ended up winning by around 5, and Biden ended up winning by around 0.2. So if these polls are completely accurate, Trump will win by around 2 to 2.5 points. I do have him winning the state by 2 points, which is in the lean column. And the final state that's going to be in the lean column for the former president will be the state of Arizona. And Arizona, this is the state that he is performing the best in. He leads in every single poll in the state of Arizona, except for this one CNN poll that has him down by 1 point. But overall, he is up by 2.6%. This is a state that does that did overestimate him in the 2020 election, but once again has fairly accurate polling. I do think he is going to win the state of Arizona right now by 2 to 3 points, and that is going to be my final projection for that state. Now that we've completed all the lean states, Donald Trump is at 262 electoral votes and Kamala Harris is at 226. She would need to win all 3 of these Rust Belt states to barely make it to 270 electoral votes. So with those states left, let's go into the tilt column now, and these are states between 0 and 2 percentage points. Starting with the state of Nevada. Nevada has seen a lot of polls recently. Trump has been doing very good, but it has generally been a mixed bag. We have polls all over the place from Trump +6 all the way to Harris +3, and this is a state I think that's going to come down to the wire. But since we've seen such favorable early voting numbers for Republicans, completely reversing the trends from the 2020 early voting, I am going to put the state in the tilt column for the former president. Right now, Trump will win the state of Nevada by 1 percentage point going into election night. Now Trump is at 268 electoral votes. He only needs 1 more state in the Rust Belt to win, and the election will probably be coming down to these 3 Rust Belt states. Let's start with the state of Wisconsin. Wisconsin right now has extremely narrow polling. It is basically a tie. She is up by 0.3 percentage points. Back in 2020, they overestimated Biden by 6 points, and they overestimated Clinton by 6 points as well. This is an extremely close race, and it will come down to the turnout in Dane County for Democrats, and it will come down to the turnout in Waukesha, Washington, and Ozaukee County for the Republicans. Right now, I am placing the state in the tilt column for the Republican Donald J. Trump. And this right here would put him over the top, and he will have 278 electoral votes. I do think this state will be close, but ultimately Trump, I do believe, will win the state by around 1 percentage point. Going now to the state of Michigan. Michigan is generally considered the most favorable state to Democrats. She is up by 0.6 in the national polls. She leads a majority of these polls by narrow amounts, and she leads by outside of the margin of error in these 2 polls down here. All in all, this is another state that Democrats do get overestimated in all their election cycles previously, but this is a state that she is going to perform the best in compared to the other states. Even though she's only up by 0.6%, and even though Biden ended up underperforming the polls a lot, I still do think she is going to win the state by around 1 point when it's all said and done. I think even less than a point is feasible, but between 0 and 2 points is going to be my range for the state of Michigan, and this will probably be the closest state in the election. And moving on now to the Keystone State, this is probably the most important state in the election. If it ends up getting called before Wisconsin, this would end up being the state that puts Trump over the top instead of Wisconsin. And I do actually think it'll get called before the state of Wisconsin. But in the polls right now, it is a dead heat. Trump leads by 0.3%. Keep in mind, though, she only leads by a combined 3 polls. And that's because a lot of polls here are tied. And so since a lot of them are tied, we can see here that this comes out to only a 0.3 win for the former president. This is a state that Biden was actually from, and he was born in Pennsylvania. It ended up helping him win a lot of these Eastern Pennsylvania voters, and he ended up winning the state by 1.2%. This is not going to be the same result as Kamala Harris is at the top of the ticket, and I do predict that the state of Pennsylvania will vote for Donald Trump by between 0 and 2%, and he will end up winning and becoming the 47th president of the United States with 297 electoral votes. Kamala Harris will come short with 241 electoral votes. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like my video, subscribe to this channel, put all your comments and suggestions in the section below, as well as any questions you guys may have. Also put your election predictions in the section below so I can chat with a lot of you guys and see what you guys think the race stands with only 1 day left until the presidential election. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll check you guys out in the next one.